is Aura, and this is wait, and I'm the host of Collective Mind, and this is the start of a new series that we're going to call Small Talk, where widows talk about things. Probably usually things about DID. And this first one is about what DID is.
So, basic explanations that are simple, that are presented by littles, to keep them simple for people that don't know what it is. Because then it'll help it from being super, super complicated.
Yeah. And with what Onyx said. Okay. So, DID is short for Dissociative Identity Disorder.
Also, featuring Charlie.
Featuring, well, she's not done. So, there. Now you can see Charlie. So, it's short for Dissociative Identity Disorder. And it used to be called Multiple Personality Disorder. Those two are the same thing, just they renamed it. So that's, if anybody call it multiple personality disorder, they're talking about the same thing. They're just using an outdated name. And DID is a dissociative disorder that's caused by childhood trauma. Like young childhood trauma, and I have a dolphin stuffy keeping me company. This is what it looks like. Okay. So DID from through childhood trauma, like young childhood trauma, and this is a coping mechanism that the brain has, like a survival mechanism for when really, really bad things are happening. And what the brain does is it says, okay, so these bad things are happening, but we still gotta be able to function and do normal everyday life stuffs. So I'm gonna put memory barrier. I'm gonna put amnesia between these two areas. So this part of the brain is gonna know about the bad stuffs, and this part of the brain is gonna be able to function better because it doesn't know about the bad stuffs. That's the general idea, and that's how you end up with alters. And alters is short for alternate state of identity, and that just means different people in one body sharing a brain and sharing a life. And what happens is those separate areas of the brain that have memory barriers between them, they grow up having different experiences from each other, because while one of them is out experiencing things, the other one doesn't know about those things. So they have different experiences which help turn them into different types of people. And that's how come different alters can be really different from each other, is because they've kind of lived different lives, because they've lived different parts of the same life. So like if one alter goes to school and spends time with friends and stuff like that, they might have a really social, happy, upbeat personality, with a different alter experiences bad things. They might not be as happy and like have nightmares and be sad a lot and stuffs like that. So some really common types of alters are trauma holder alters. Those are ones that remember the bad things that happen, and a lot of times at least keep information about the bad things away from the other alters. And there's also the host. There can be more than one host, but there's usually at least one where the host is the alter who finds the most and usually does lots of like day-to-day normal life things. There's also protectors who are lots of times also trauma holders. At least in our system, lots of times they are. And protectors will switch. I said this mind switching, but I'll finish my thought first. Protectors will switch to help if something scary is happening. But switching is when a different alter takes over and is the one doing things now and is the one who will remember those things later. So like, it's like driving a car is the alter who's in the driver's seat, and sometimes there can be an alter like watching from the passenger seat, or sometimes alters are kind of like fighting over the wheel. And sometimes there's ones who are kind of further back but can still kind of watch, like they're in the back seat, and sometimes it's like they're in the trunk, so they can't really tell anything that's going on. And sometimes like different types of systems will have different levels of memories and awarenesses with each other. So sometimes systems can can talk to each other inside when they're close to each other. And sometimes they can't do that at all, and it's just totally memory loss. And then they can only communicate with each other by like leaving notes for each other, which is a very common thing systems would do, is leave notes for each other. And I said inside, so I'm gonna explain inside. So a lot of systems have a world inside their brain. We call it an inner world. And that's where alters go when they're not fronting, or like controlling the body, when they're not in the driver's seat. They're in the inner world, and they can have whole lives in there. They can do all kinds of things in the inner world, and they can talk to each other, and they can play with each other, and they can take care of each other, help each other, and do all kinds of things. And but it's also very common for not all alters to be able to go all the different places in the inner world, for some areas to be just for some alters, and a lot of times there are some alters who can't go in the inner world at all, or can only go in one certain small area of it, and there are lots of systems who don't even have an inner world. And they just, sometimes it's like if they're not fronting, it's like they're sleeping, or sometimes if I don't know what else it will be like.
Darkness.
Like just darkness, yeah. But we have an inner world. But I can't go inside of it, at least right now. But I know lots of things about it. But I cannot go there, I stuck in the front.
You having fun?
No.
You're not having fun?
Okay, having with a bit of fun. So to be a system, there has to be at least two alters. So two different people sharing the brain. But there can be lots more than that. It just depends on what the brain needed. And there can be really big systems. Like we our system has over 200 authors in it. I don't know exactly how many. There's lots of areas in the world that are really hard for people to get to, so it's hard to count everybody, and the number changes too. Yeah, so there can be lots and lots, or there can be just a few, or anywhere in the middle. And same thing with inner worlds, is you can have a really small inner world or a huge inner world. Like it could be a whole planet or a whole solar system, or it could be one room or one house or a town. There's all kinds of things it could be. And same thing with altars, is there's all kinds of different altars, different altar roles, and different types of altars. Like you can have animal altars and like supernatural fantasy altars and all kinds of things, because it's based on a lot of times things that the brain thought was safe, or things that the brain thought was scary. Lots of the times at least. So like if a certain animal seems like it will be really strong and will be able to fight back against bad things that happen, you might have an altar who's that animal. That kind of thing. And all of that is totally valid. Also, the mental health community and researchers need to do more research on DID and OSDD and other types of systems, because there's not enough research on it, and they need to catch up, because they still think for some reason that it's really rare, even though the studies that they do prove that it's not super rare. So I don't know why they still think that. But a lot of them still seem to think that it's super, super rare, even though their own studies will say that it's like comparable to lots of other like really well-known disorders that are not considered super rare. So yeah, that's a challenge to the mental health professionals out there to do more research.
Did you just challenge the mental health community to get good?
Yeah, do better.
You just challenged the entire scientific mental health community to get good and do good.
Yeah. I know research on people is hard, but that's your job. So keep doing it. Learn more things. I think those are most of the basic things that I wanted to talking about for what the idea is. If you have questions or suggestions for future episodes of Smol Talk, please let us know in the comments or on our Discord server, which is linked in the description box below. And I forgot how to do everything. We know there's more than that. We also have an Etsy shop. We make things like this is a thing that we made, but we made this one for us. But we could make one for you if you want. We have an Etsy shop, and that's linked in the description too. And we have a Twitter account if you want to follow us on Twitter, where we say things sometimes, but most we just retweet other people. But maybe we'll say more things. I don't know. We don't always have things to say. We say most of them on videos because we make videos 5 times a week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Watch videos. So you should subscribe and ring the bell and like this video if you liked it. And also, you can subscribe by clicking the button that's gonna be like around here, like underneath my pixel. Underneath my pixel, kind of where Charlie's face is right now. That's where you can click to subscribe. Also, our previous video is over here, and there's also a playlist of other videos that talk about DID, so you can learn all kinds of stuff about DID if you wanna. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.